What's up, Ramblers? I know you want to get into today's podcast, but real quick, make sure you're keeping up by following Assistance HQ and Offsource HQ across all platforms, anywhere on all social medias, to keep up with all of the latest content, updates, exclusive, and everything else. And for business owners, visit offsource.tech for all of your office outsourcing needs, a virtual assistant for every occasion. All the links are in the bio, so go check them out right now. Now, here's your podcast. Before we begin, a moment from our sponsor. Good morning, Ramblers. Welcome back to another episode of The Ramblings. I'm your host, Angela Roberts, and we are back with a happy Friday. Today is Friday the 13th in November, so just a month out from October, so nothing to be scared of. I have a lot of insight to give today. We have officially closed down our first full work week at Offsource in terms of actually getting a lot of stuff done. I've hit networking meetings every single day this week. Crazy, I know, right? But it's been pretty fruitful. And so up until yesterday, I was extremely nervous with how things were going. It was like, I need to get clients. And that's really what our focus is right now. We're focusing on getting clients, and things are moving a lot slower than we anticipated. I was going to say a little, but it's actually a lot. Things are moving so much slower than we had anticipated. And we're just trying to, not necessarily play catch up, but redo the projections to see where we can go and what's a reachable possibility. So for example, this month alone, our goal is to do 20 clients. And you might have heard that before, but our goal is to do 20 clients. And what we're looking to spend to get these particular 20 clients is something that that I've done the numbers and it works out. So we plan on spending a considerable chunk. However, it's if these clients stay, then it's worth it in the long run because the lifetime value of the client is much more than what we dished out to acquire these clients. And so something that I've realized is I think we should raise the cost it takes for us to acquire clients. However, we're not necessarily sure because we're really trying to implement a referral program, and it's very hard to get a referral plan kicking when you don't have any clients that can refer you or anything. So we've come up with a referral program, and now we're pushing things, and we have some meetings lined up. I actually have a meeting for next week. My calendar is starting to look really, really booked and busy, and I'm just excited for it and everything, So this week has been very educational in the sense of being a business owner, in the sense of learning strategies, in the sense of working with other people, in the sense of you have to really invest in your business. And if you don't invest in your business, then you're not going to get, but you're only going to get but so far, because the best people invest in their business, whether it be with time, money, or with whatever possible resources you have. People are investing in their business. And so I was on Twitter earlier today and I saw a post. It was like a question. It was what is the best business advice or best business hack that you can offer? Or what is a top tier business hack to other people that you can offer? Something that you've used yourself. And one of the biggest hacks that I think works in business is listening to your customers. Now, that's not what I said on Twitter. I can't remember exactly what I said on Twitter, but I'm sure it has to do something with listening to your customers or something, because that's something that has been very, very important and helpful for me. Um, anyway, the point being is invest. Oh, that's what I said. Invest in your hobbies, because later on it becomes investing in your business. And the reason I say that is because as you guys know me, you guys know what I'm always talking about finding things that you love to do. And the only way to really know what you love to do is if you already enjoy doing it. And so if you don't have a hobby, I suggest going out and find a hobby. Hobbies are the gateway to business, if you will. Hobbies are I don't want to say that really, but hobbies are kind of like marijuana in 2006 to politicians. This is the gateway drug to hardness. So hobbies to me are the gateway drug to being an entrepreneur and being a business owner. Because when you have when you have a hobby, and a hobby that you take seriously, you invest and you put money into that hobby. Take someone that does craft, right? An arts and crafts person, someone that builds. Oh, perfect example. I have a friend, his name is Micah, and he loves to build things. He's actually a construction worker. He's a foreman now because he's been uh, promoted and everything, but he misses being like a regular construction worker. And the reason is because he loves to build things with his hands. He loves to craft and make and build things. And like he has this thing where he has this Etsy shop where he does ties and he handcrafts and makes these ties and bow ties. And they're actually pretty cool. I'm going to be buying some. But it's it started out as a hobby. I just like to create and do stuff with my hands, you know? So you have to learn that your hobby is you're going to put money in it. So when he builds something, he has to go buy wood. He probably already has a workbench desk that he works at, right? You paid for the tools, and then as you get deeper into the hobby, you get even better tools. So when you start, you just get the very cheap stuff, you know. You get whatever you can afford or whatever your budget allows for you. Even if you have to make it yourself and do makeshift stuff, you know. I've used a butter knife as a wrench before, not a wrench, as a screwdriver before, you know, making do with what you have, right? But as you have a greater love for the hobby, as you have more in-depth knowledge in what you're doing, you start to spend a little bit more money doing that exact thing. It's almost like being a basketball player. You can play at the park for free. And if you live in New York, you probably can get a lot of great reps playing at the park, probably even play with some NBA players, you know, great experience. Yet for the people that love basketball, but they're not like NBA players or anything, what do? They play on intramural teams. They play on, you know, the over 18 leagues, you know, the little LA gym, the LA fitness gym membership competitions and stuff. They go get the one-on-ones or the 5-on-5s at the court, and you pay for that membership, or they're paying to be in tournaments and everything, right? Harlem Globetrotters, you know, they're not in the NBA, but they're still playing basketball, and it's a hobby almost, but it's now money making business for them. So whatever you do, because most people, most small business owners are getting into business. I can't find this. I need to find to see if there's a statistic for this somewhere. If you guys want to drop a hashtag Let's Ramble, and you guys can find the statistic for how many small businesses start from hobbies, I'd love to know that kind of information. I just don't have the time to look at it right now. But yeah, most small business owners started as a hobby. If you were a chef, you probably weren't always, you know, you didn't go to school to be a chef, most likely. It was, you know, I was a kid, I loved cooking, and I did grandma's cooking, and then I started selling plates, and I got my own store, I started selling plates, and then I got a food truck, and then I got a restaurant, or whatever the case may be. You started because it was a hobby and it was what you loved to do, and then you decided, hey, people would pay for this. People pay for a particular hobby. Why? Because they want the finished product. Everyone loves finished product. No one loves putting in the work. That is where money's made in America. And that's really what capitalism is. Capitalism, in essence, is someone's inability or unwillingness to do something. And so there's has to be some form of transaction to receive it. For example, everyone loves to eat food. I'm I love to eat food too. I had Popeyes last night, right? I love to eat food, but I absolutely don't like cooking. I don't ever say I don't like cooking because I kind of enjoy, but I enjoy it on my time. And I don't want to have to feel like I'm being forced to cook. And when I'm hungry, I feel like it's me forcing me to go cook, and I don't like that. So I like to order. I like the finished product, but I don't like the process of getting that finished product. And what is the process? The process is more than just you got to cook. You got to make sure you buy the food. You got to make sure you prep the food. You got to make sure you then cook it, and you got to make sure you clean up the kitchen afterwards. I don't like doing none of those four steps do I enjoy doing. I don't like I don't like doing dishes. I love cleaning the kitchen. Hate doing the dishes. I don't like going grocery shopping, and prepping food and actually doing the cooking is I'd rather be doing something else. So I enjoy the finished product, but I do not enjoy the process. And so that is where monetary value is made. Because here's the thing, if you look at it from bare scratch, if you were to look at just cooking as a hobby from absolute scratch, from pure scratch, my guy, that means you have to make and go get spices. You have to go get the meat, because think of it, we are going to get meat for whatever it is that we're going to go cook, right? Whatever we have to go cook, that food had to get to us. So if you really enjoy cooking, do you enjoy cooking to the point where you are going to raise your livestock and then cook it? For example, my mom. You guys know I love talking about my mom, right? So in my mom's backyard, she has a chicken coop with chickens that lay eggs. And so she goes in the morning. Mind you, she does not live on a farm. She lives in the city next to two other houses with a building behind her, right? And has a chicken coop in her backyard in New Haven, Connecticut. So she goes and gets eggs every morning, something like that, right? That process of cooking has gone from real beginning to a real end. And this is what I mean by a real beginning. When you cook something, in this sense, we're cooking eggs, right? Cooking doesn't start when you groceries. Cooking doesn't start at the grocery shop. Cooking starts at where the food came from. So in this sense, it's an egg. So it starts with the chicken. So the chicken had to be raised. So it starts with raising the chicken, which she did. She incubated and had, the chicken. I think she went out and bought chickens. I can't remember. Either way, chickens. I'm sorry, chicklets, the peeps, the small ones. She raised them to large chickens. She then took those chickens and they produced eggs. She's then going to take that egg, which she normally would have bought, but went through the process of raising a chicken. She takes that egg and then goes and then brings it through the cooking process. So that's just how deep a lot of processes and a lot of businesses go. There is room to make money if there is room for someone to be unwilling or unable to do something. So if you live in the city, not comparing it to my mom or anything, but if you live somewhere where they're very strict on if you had chickens in the backyard and they're not going to allow you, you have the inability to complete the entire food process. So someone has to step in and say, hey, listen, we make chickens or have the chickens and then ship the eggs. So if you want the chicken eggs and can't raise your own chickens, we buy the eggs from us and then you can take the process from there. But then someone says, hey, listen, I don't want to raise a chicken and I don't feel like doing the prep for the eggs or anything. You feel me? So you have one person do the make or get the chicken eggs, and then you have another person do the cooking and prepping. And then someone says, I'm too lazy to even go get the food. Now that the food is cooked and done, I'm too lazy to even go get it. And so now we have a delivery driver. You feel me? The farm raiser, the person to get the food, and then the person to deliver the food to you. And then there's a bunch of things in between and processes and steps in between that happen. So your hobby, you loving to travel, you loving to be on the open road, you loving to be with animals, you loving to podcast, you loving to code as a hobby is a gateway to you running your business. And so if you invest in your hobbies, you will invest in your businesses. And that's just where I've been at this point. You guys might have heard the podcast I did a couple of days ago on retail therapy, which isn't real retail. It isn't real retail therapy, but it is because it's in the sense of investing for your business. You're buying things for your business. That's really what the name of the game is. You feel me? When you're doing something, you want to invest and buy it for your business. You feel me? And it's supposed to give you practical value. And patience is big key. So that's really what's been going on this week because I have been super swamped and feeling like I haven't been getting much done. But as we've rounded the end of the week, I am feeling like there's a lot getting done. We have meetings lined up. I have networking meetings lined up. I have one-on-ones with clients, with potential clients. A new networking group I'm probably going to be entering. Two actually, a BNI and I just joined Master Networks and I'm probably going to be part of ProfNet, and Happy Networks is starting to boom and everything. So I'm going to disclose some information. It was on live yesterday, so you might have heard it already. But yesterday I was in a marketing meeting with a company that we're probably going to start working with. And I'm going to say that within the next Over the course of the next 30 to 45 days, we're going to be sending out $8,000 alone just in marketing efforts, website rebranding, social media ads, YouTube ads, Google search ads. Everything is ramping up. We have a complete brand new website coming. Podcast is updating. We have equipment. We have the microphone working now. So things are very much looking on the up and up. So I've just been excited, and it sounds crazy. It sounds like, oh, that's a lot of money to be spending, for marketing purposes and everything. But you have to think, one, we did a raise, so we have it. Two, I've been doing network marketing for 10 months. I have built this business on the back of strictly going to talk to people. This business has brought in, not revenue. I'm not going to lie. It's not all revenue. We've only done what, $2,500 in revenue to date. We've helped 13 small businesses and we've raised $100,000. And a lot of people say, raising money is not doing business. And I absolutely agree. Earning your money is nowhere close to as good as raising capital. However, as a Black person, we have to look at advice that we see, right? When you're on YouTube, and this is something that I feel is very, very important. And I think I'm going to, probably do a class on this, which is how to learn. Because I think a lot of people don't understand that part. Like, school shows you to learn, but it doesn't teach you the proper way to learn how to learn, especially if you're Black. Because as Black people, we hear advice, we see steps that, the successful people take, and you have to really comb through what is said when you listen to their success story and you try to mimic it. A lot of people will say, raising money isn't the best way to go. Bootstrapping. And I am 100% for bootstrapping. I have bootstrapped. We raised money, but I was bootstrapping before that. And the reason that you have to recognize why raising money doesn't equate to the fact that you're going to be successful. One, just look at Quibi. Y'all heard me talk about Quibi. Quibi raised $2 billion, basically 1.8, 1.9, but basically $2 billion. And it failed in 6 months. 6 months, they're being shut down. Just shutting down. So, and not only are they being shut down, nobody wants to buy them. Any parts. No one wants to buy any parts of Quibi, and they raised $1.8 billion or whatever, and nobody wants to buy them or any part of them. I think it's safe to say I'm doing better than Quibi probably, and we didn't raise $2 billion. So it's not necessarily about money alone. However, as a Black individual, we have a lot of other systematic economic issues that we face. Our location, the people closest to us. Think of it like this, right? As someone bootstrapping, you have a product to sell. Let's just take what's hot right now, skincare products, right? Let's take skincare products. Bootstrapping as a high schooler, I'm going to get real specific really quick. So for those of you not from Connecticut, I apologize. In Connecticut, there's a public school called Hill House. Some people know it, some people don't. It's a low totem pole public school, and it's only a couple of slots above the juvenile delinquent school system. And then we have a high school that is public called Cheshire High School. Very good high school. You can even, if you're not familiar with Cheshire, you can use Greenwich, Stanford, any of the other schools in the upper part of Connecticut that are white. And if you compare that to the schools like Hill House or Hardin, which is in Bridgeport, which is a predominantly Black school in the hood, and you take two students bootstrapping a business idea, they sell skincare products, right? This is where bootstrapping differs, right? So the white person in the white school is going to have a much easier time bootstrapping and feeling like they are a successful bootstrapping entrepreneur. Why? Because the people in that area that they are closest in proximity to have money. The same way we try and dismantle or be are disgruntled about black on black crime, we have the same effect when it comes to business. Because we don't have money, we don't have money to support. Because of the economic stances, we don't have the same amount of resources to support. So for the person in the white neighborhood selling skincare products, they can go knock on 10 doors and sell 5 products as a mediocre salesman. And the black person, as an amazing salesman, can go knock on 10 doors and only sell 3 products. Not because they're not good, but because the people that are in the area or of proximity to them do not have the means. The target audience for that particular person is much smaller than in other areas. So we have to take that into account when we are saying, oh, we should be bootstrapping primarily. Raising money is not the end all be all. But as Black people, especially when we have a lot of financial worries, raising money makes a lot of sense. And so the purpose of me raising money was because I realized, as a service business, not because I don't sell a product, I have to do a service, right? So that means I work and then I have to work again. I do double work. We talked about this before. People that sell a product, they work, they make a transaction, it's done. If you have a service, you work on the business, you have to make the transaction, and then you have to do what that transaction was for. So if you are a painter, you have to put in the work to get the painting gear and get the clients and market yourself and all of that stuff to get into the door of and start painting. And then you actually have to spend time painting. So let's just say it takes 5 hours to get a client or a customer. The person who has to paint will spend 5 hours getting a client and 5 hours painting. That's 10 hours in a day. The person who has to make a sale will spend 5 hours finding a customer and then make a sale. And that's it. Once they find a customer and make that transaction, it's done. So let's just say it's a 30-minute transaction. That is a very long transaction for a sale, but let's just say it takes 30 minutes to make the sale, right? So once both owners make the sale, they're at 5.5 hours. The difference is one owner has to then go and do 5 hours of painting. The other one has to go look for another sale. There's a cost difference though. The person who made the sale and has to go look for another sale probably did not make as much as the person who had to do the painting for 5 hours. So while we have a slightly longer sales process, our per cost item is much higher. So the length of time it would take for me to actually close, as well as maintaining an actual job, because I was door dashing at the time, right? I had quit my job from being a bookkeeper and everything to really get in on this and really like double in. And so I had quitting my job to do DoorDash was not something that was like a grandiose kind of thing. I really took quitting my job as like, I'm really going to go in on my business for this. I didn't want to DoorDash, but it was something that was like, okay, if I need to supplement income, this is how I'm going to do it. Right. And it got to the point where DoorDash was affecting business, because here's the thing. When you run a service business, depending on the service, it is very, very easy to block off time. If you're a painter, you can say, I'm going to come between 5 and 10. You can set your schedule around stuff like that. When you're an assistant and you support small business owners, it's very hard to do something like that because the business owner can need you at any time. And it is very unprofessional to say, or it's, how does it sound when a customer says, hey, I need your help. And you say, I can't, I'm door dashing. Huh? My virtual assistant that is supposed to be working for me is door dashing? Now, obviously, for those of us that, aren't business owners and everything, it sounds like, oh, that sounds kind of sucky. Like, dang, why would you want to do that? But you also have to recognize as a customer, you want to have your needs dealt with, you know? We deal with like when you call the bank, you want to speak to a customer service representative. What if when you called Wells Fargo, they said, "Hey, listen, all of our customer service reps are busy, and the guy that you were supposed to speak to is on vacation. You can't speak to anyone right now because the dude that you were supposed to speak to is on vacation. And we don't have anyone to speak for you because we can't afford it." Same thing. Call me. I'm solo. Hey, I don't have anyone else for you to speak to right now. And you can't speak to me because I have to DoorDash, and it's gonna sound like really crazy because I have to. Good morning, Island Kid. What's going on, Brody? Got to say good morning to everyone. I'm gonna pin your comment today because you are amazing, bro. So it's really about your personal circumstances. And I think I come from a very well off circumstance. You know, I have very supporting parents. My dad, not necessarily, he's supporting, but in a very tough love kind of way. And so it really, I didn't have the safety net of, okay, I still have to make sure bills were getting paid. I still have to make sure I'm living, you know, I'm still trying to be on my own, and living at home isn't the, at that time wasn't the cheapest option, which sounds absolutely ridiculous, but imagine that, living at home not being the cheapest option for me. So it's something that evolved. And so I had to go out on a hunt to do a raise. And the purpose of that raise was because I needed to have money in the bank, not for me, but for the business. And the business needed things, and it needed to be propelled in a particular manner that was able to be carried for a long amount of time. And so I wrestled with the idea of getting funding because, as a huge Gary Vee fan, I was like, he didn't get funding. I don't want to get funding. Why should I have to get funding? And you have to recognize you are not that exact person. Some people get do things without funding, other people don't. I can start multiple businesses. I'm starting another business. And so I've realized, hey, listen, why do things with your own money? That's something my dad always taught me. Like, and you really have to learn things, right? And I'm going to teach you guys something. Why do something with your own money but you can do it with someone else's? My dad does real estate, right? So when someone, he has to buy something, he makes it in a way that the tenant pays for it. Now it sounds like, oh, well, that's your money because that's your income and that's how you make money. But when you go through the business, and business takes care of everything, it's not yours, it's the business's. And there's a separation between the business and your money legally. So the important matter, if you don't get anything else out of my whole rambling that I just went on, is you have to look at your circumstance as just that, your circumstance. Don't compare it to someone else's circumstance. Don't compare it to what someone else did. And I find myself doing that absolutely a lot. And I understand it's very hard. We look at people like, we look at rappers, we look at young NBA players like rookies, we look at other small business owners that are being successful, and we're like, I want to do that. But you don't have the exact same cards that they were dealt, you know? Someone could be successful, and the reason that they're successful is because they fought the burnout and said, I'm going to work through everything. And you're like, oh, I want to do that. But you don't recognize that the reason they did that is because they were from an abusive household, and their drive was fight or flight. I need to survive. So I need to make enough money. Like, I live in like I personally don't live in New York, but if you were to take, you know, someone who lives in New York with an abusive household, that grind is a lot different than what you would imagine, because they are fighting for their life and have to survive in a city that, one, doesn't even really freaking care about them, and two, is so expensive that that like running away just makes you homeless, and that, you know, it's cold, and the chance, like, it's cold most of the time out of the year. So abuse on one end, food, hot water, bed to sleep in temporarily until I can get it together. I've been going through this for a while, and if I don't do anything, I'm going to continue going through it. So if I can go through it for a short amount of time and make it and just eat crap for a long time, I can put myself out of that situation, because guess what? You only have so many options, guys. The options are very, very limited. So what is it that you're going to do? Before you go, Ramblers, if you enjoyed today's podcast, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and make sure you're following me across all platforms at Assistance HQ. Catch up on exclusive content and keep track of everything going on at OffSource. See you in October.